Welcome back to the Natty Shed Life podcast. Today's episode is all about Dean. Dean started working with Gillies Mackay in 2002 and he is Gillies Mackay's operations supervisor. He is a problem solver, he is known to be the fixer, and he has a massive influence over the guys in the workshop and over the buildings themselves. Here's Dean's story. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Dean?
Family. Yeah, I think that's fair. Mm-hmm. Do you want more than that?
Yeah.
Yeah, family, definitely. So Dean is my ex-husband and he is also Gillies Mackay's operational supervisor. And we have, I think now, a very much lovely dynamic in terms of raising our children and working together and being each other's ex-husbands and wives. Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How did Dean first come into Gillies Mackay?
Right. So, God, it was ages ago. Fuck knows. I hate this because you always I'm always going into a timeline. I'm like, I have no fucking idea. But I do have like a proper like core memory of I would have been about 15, 16 at the time, wood cutting, and I remember Dean coming in to Gillies and Mackay for an interview for a job for Gillies and Mackay, and I do remember it, and I knew the Marshalls because of like family connections in the village and stuff like that, so I kind of knew who Dean was, and I also always kind of remembered him as quite a happy person. So I remember him just as he was leaving or something from having his interview or whatever, he's like, I think I've got the job type of thing, and it would being exciting. So that's my first sort of like core memory of Dean coming to Gillies and Mackay. And in the early stages of Dean's career at G&M, it was parts and what we now know is the finishing role. And he was taking over from Grant's operational role in parts. So that's what he came into the business to do. And it's quite like sort of a sliding doors moment because actually Gordon was out of the company at that time. But Dean and Gordon, much like Gordon and myself, like very close friends. And it was, that was sort of like the first memory of him being in the company, yeah.
Was there a memory of like you thinking, yeah, he's one of us, he's a Gillies Mackay?
Yeah, I think so, because like in the early days, like everybody that was in Gillies Mackay was employed like in or around the village, you know, so like that, like there was always like a familiarity between us all, like we all knew each other in some way or some capacity, so it was like comforting and like just familiar, I suppose. Yeah.
And so Dean started in parts, but he's still in parts today?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so has there been any like shifts or changes in his roles throughout that time, or has it been consistent in parts?
Well, just most recently, like, you know, when we shifted Aaron and Dean's role into becoming on-site finishers, like, you know, that's been the most sort of like biggest change in their role. Up until that point, their parts role in terms of the workshop setting, that was like predominant. That's always been the role that he's played. But Dean is a very skilled carpenter. But before he came to Gillies Mackay, he was working at the coffin factory, for example. So you can imagine the element of finish that's required for making caskets. So, you know, it's quite a big deal. And, you know, his skill set goes wildly beyond that. There's nothing that Dean can't turn his hand to, really. So he is more than capable of fulfilling any role within Gillies and Mackay, in terms of all the other things that we do. But yeah, so the biggest transition really for him would have been at the time where I asked him and Aaron to then become on-site finishers for doing the line and insulating and the finishing of the buildings, as a more permanent structure to their role. Prior to that, Dean would go out and line insulate and finish ad hoc as and when required. But yeah, he's had a shot of everything. Absolutely, yeah.
What do people not see that you see about Dean, like within his role and within the workshop and beyond?
I don't know. I mean, like, Dean's a very open book. You know, you get what you're given with Dean. Everybody knows where you stand. You know, he involves everybody. He spends time with everyone, and you know, he takes the time. And I think, you know, I see that more so, that his intentions are good when he is spending the time with the younger ones and helping them out. And I think they all feel that. They all feel that they are supported by him. But it is a conscious effort that he does. He thinks about everyone else as well as himself. So it's a good quality to have. I don't know whether or not I'm the only person that sees that. I don't think that's true. I think pretty much everyone knows that they can go to Dean if they need help with something.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Like, Dean was... between Callum and Dean, I can't remember what one came first, but like, Dean was one of the first people that I could rely on when I first came to Gillies Mackay. He was the first one that I felt like I developed a relationship with, like within the workshop team. Yeah. I could go to Dean and he would answer all my questions. Absolutely no bother at all. He would be there to help, no bother at all. He would be there to just have a chat and ask you how you're doing. And he was the one at a time where I felt that I didn't belong here. He was definitely a person that gave me a little bit of belief that maybe I could, because coming into a role where you didn't know anything about joinery, timber, nothing. Like, he taken the time, he taken the patience, and one of the things that came through from Dean for me was, like, again, passion. Yeah. So passionate about how it's done and getting it right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of other people pick that up as well within Gillies Mackay, and that's why you can go to Dean when you're looking for the answers. Yeah. Because you know that, like, the intention at the end of the day is right.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
What was Dean like to work with, like, back in the day?
At which point? Before we were married, or after we were married, or in between times?
I mean, like, you know, like, what was your role? Like, when Dean first came in the company, what was your role? What was his role? His role was the parts joiner. Yeah. And your role was?
Woodcutter.
Yeah. So what was that like at the time, like, working with him?
Just a barrel of laughs. I mean, I think you look back in time and it's like rose-tinted glasses or whatever, and you as a human, like, you erase, like, some of the sort of, like, harder times, I suppose, because when I think back to, like, the good old days, as people refer them to them, you know, it was just a carry on. It was great. You know, I've talked about this before, like with Chrissy's story as well. It's just like, we were like a large sort of club, like a group of, like, people in a community that liked spending time together. And so, like, we would do, you know, camping trips and what have you, and, like, raise our families together and all the rest of it. So, like, we're very much involved, I think. So yeah, like, the sort of, like, early stages of Dean's career at Gillies and Mackay, you know, I was part of the workshop team. So, you know, I'd spend a lot of time within the workshop environment, and so I was very much part of that team, and Dean was a prominent figure in it, and, you know, we all got on great. I think we all just had good crack. Yeah.
And and how did it shift? Because you developed in your role, so how did that relationship shift, or how did your working relationship shift as you were growing in the company?
Yeah, So I think, like, the point of which I stopped being a woodcutter and then went into the office and then started doing, like, the office side of things, and then became the office manager, business manager, managing director. Like, throughout all of those stages, you know, like, we became very separate in terms of working together in the business. So, like, Dean was operations and I was office, so there was a divide there. And then like once we got married and things, you know, that was clear. And I don't think in terms of like the working relationship that there was any real conflict there. I wasn't the boss, for example. You know, Dad and Grant and even Caroline, still to an extent, they led the company, you know, and so like that wasn't an issue. I don't think in terms of like cross responsibilities or bias or influence and what have you. I think, you know, as time went on, it became more difficult. I'd certainly say that was more of a challenge for us to navigate. Like, you work together, you live together, you raise children together. Like, you know, it's quite a lot. And I would definitely say that, you know, when couples work in the same business, if they're both working on the business, then I think there's a chance of a more harmonious environment. But if they're split in terms of power and or departments, then it can be a bit conflicting. And from like my own experiences of it, you know, there's a lot more enjoyment from not being that connected, I think, in terms of a partnership. There's a lot more ways in which you can show up for each other, especially if you're not conflicted by work responsibilities. So, you know, I think we managed like fairly well. But I do remember times where it was more difficult it was more stressful. Usually, like, you know, if I worried about like the, you know, the stability of the business. Like, we've been through some really shit times in terms of like financial stability as a seasonal business coming into the winter. You know, it was always a fearful time. And it's been, you know, fairly plain sailing for a number of years now. But in the early days, you know, that was always a worry. And to be the person that's looking after the money, to then be the person that's having to say, you know, we're going to have to cut your hours, or, you know, we might need to make somebody redundant or stuff like that. Like that's challenging. But I wouldn't say it was any more challenging between communicating between me and Dean back then than it is now. You know, the dynamics fairly clear. I think we've got good boundaries. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How does Dean show up in the? Because there's been a few challenging times within Gillies Mackay in terms of what the businesses had to face.
Yeah.
Like how has Dean shown up in those moments?
Usually, like if when the shit hits the fan, like, you know, Dean's like the first one to like, come on, let's get this sorted out. Let's, you know, save this. Let's do what we have to do. Let's, you know, take on the shitier jobs. Let's, you know, diversify. Let's do whatever it takes, you know, to see us through this. He's the one that's championing that. He's definitely not the person that's resisting to having to do stuff to make sure that the business survives. Or, you know, in support of the company, and knowing that first and foremost, let's get through the rough patch and then we can talk about everything else after. But yeah, so yeah, he definitely shows up as a sort of united front to support the company. Yeah. He
shares his stories as well. Like, I remember during the COVID time, like speaking to him, and like or even just when it gets into the winter, when we find the winter period challenging for sales and stuff, like Dean will pop up and you'll hear chat with him, and then he'll share stories for the past, and he always, like, he comforts you, and he's just like, it's all right, we've been through it before, we'll get through it again. Like, he just he just knows.
Every faith, every faith. Weather will change, things will pick up, and it does. Yeah.
What qualities does Dean bring that like elevates the team in the workshop?
Yeah, there's a little bit of like I'd like to say like a sort of like celebrity presence when it comes to Dean, because he's such a character. Everybody sort of warms to him quite easily, and you'll find that they take on Deanisms. Things that he says, the way in which he approaches things. He's always got a phrase, some form of phrase that he's saying that everybody catches on to, and they always sort of like have a laugh together and stuff like that. So it's like they like to have fun and they like to keep the mood light and have a joke about. And I think, you know, Dean definitely does influence that. He's a happy soul. His mum used to call him her sunshine boy, and that is what he emulates. That's his face. That's everything. When he's in a good mood, everybody knows it and everybody feels it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You definitely do. And when he's singing in the workshop, yeah.
Singing's, I mean, don't know if that's what you call it, but okay.
What, and a big thing for him, like for Dean just now, is relationship with Aaron.
Yeah.
And how they two have developed. Like, what's that been like to watch Dean mentoring Aaron?
Yeah. It's the potential that Dean knows that Aaron is capable of, that keeps Aaron accountable to who he is. That's the most powerful thing. Like, you know, Dean can show him every skill under the sun and, you know, spend the time with him to train him and to, you know, do all the formalities. But it's actually the belief that Dean has in Aaron in terms of like knowing that he's got such potential to be a master craftsman. And, you know, Aaron's doing his apprenticeship now, and that's a big step for him. And like he shows the same qualities as Dean. They are like a father and son duo. So like they've got each other's back. They look after one another. But when it comes down to it, like Dean is very much the influence on Aaron, and Aaron listens to him and holds him in high regard. Absolutely, yeah.
What do you think that means to Dean in terms of their relationship?
I'm not sure. Dean's a good friend, you know, and he's popular and he's had lots of friends, and he turns up for people, you know, and I think when it comes to friendship, you know, that is the sort of like physical sign that you need. Like he's there when people are struggling with whatever it is or wants to lend a hand or, you know, and because of his skill set, because he is so handy, like, you know, he can turn his hand to anything. So it's like, you're never really stuck with it, you know, thinking about like houses and cars and or gardening even, you know, he can help out and people really appreciate that because he shows up for them. Yeah, and I think, you know, for Aaron, like that's a good thing to have and to learn from in order to be a good friend, for Aaron to be a good friend to others too.
I remember a story for Dean, and I'll probably butcher this a little bit, but he was telling me about a story that he was helping, I think it was one of his neighbours, who was struggling with a fence. And like he doesn't like to see people struggling.
That's it, yeah. Especially if he can do something to help and do it like knowingly that it's going to solve it, whereas they're like in a place of like, I have no idea what to do. And
he's straight in there. And even like where like if customers are coming back to us for like jobs like years later and stuff, like Dean's the person that you can rely on and go to, and he listens to the story and he's just, because it's easy to just send a message to someone and just go, this job is looking to get done. But you go to Dean and you tell him the story, he's just like, right, can't
get that sorted.
Aye, that's it, aye. And he does, and he goes and does it. And then he'll come back and tell you the story. He's like, look, I've sorted it, this is what happened.
He gets everybody's life story as well.
Aye.
So there's always something else.
Aye. He is a chatter, but like, he's definitely... He has an appreciation for other people that are struggling. You can see that. And he wants to help. How have you seen Dean grown throughout the years?
So I think when it comes to Dean, in terms of growth, it's to do with his confidence more than anything. I think when we brought in all these young people that were needing skilled up and trained and whatever, that was really like the shining moment for Dean. You know, like he loves to show people, you know, how they can do something, but also do it better for themselves. And I think like the way that he looks after and that sort of like that mentality that he has is really powerful to him as well. It gives him a place of like feeling content with his ability and achieving something like instant gratification, kind of like on a daily basis. Like he knows he's helped Jamie to do something specific on the bench that he was struggling with, or fix something for him so Jamie can get on, or, you know, teaching Aaron anything that Aaron's needing to be learning and helping the deliverers out with whatever tools it is that they're missing. You know, just anything that just sort of restores his value, and he gets that. And I feel like that's where the growth comes from, is like all these little aspiring young men coming in underneath, and him seeing this as an opportunity to really enjoy it and embrace it and lean into it. Like, I see that for him. Like, he sees people clearly. I don't know if it's like a woo-woo thing or what it is, but he has this ability to see in to people properly and know, you know, when they're just needing a little bit of confidence themselves, and just be able to encourage that out of them. And I think the growth in Dean is definitely him getting the validation of that, and then his confidence in it growing time and time again. He's so capable of it. And anytime he has suggestions for me, which is all the time, Dean has always got suggestions about what needs to be fixed, what needs to be better, what needs to be done. Anytime. And I'm excited for him, because I know that he's motivated because of it, and that he's like properly engaged with, you know, the idea of these guys being able to do things better for themselves. Mm-hmm.
And Dean is a problem solver. Like, you're talking about the ideas, and like you can see that, like, if he, like, talking about the Gillies Mackay standard, like Dean has a big impact on that, because he sees lots of things and ways of which things can be better all the time. Like, he's part of the innovation of the buildings, and he's constantly coming to you guys and just like, what about this, what about that? Like, how much has Dean really had an impact on that into the terms of the development of the buildings?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of everything that we change or things that we try to improve on come from the parts department anyway. So, you know, that's the place where the most innovative thinking comes from. And even just in the respect of just today alone. So, I get here, there's already something going on with the parts that he made yesterday that needs an alteration, because they have been changed in order for them to be better. And that's again, just like they refine all the time. They're like, it used to be 170, now it's 145. That means you don't have to join these two bits together. This is perfect. This is exactly what we're going to try that out. Well, maybe it didn't work. We didn't like that, actually. It did work, but we had to fit it out on site and we couldn't do it here. That's the sort of thing. And then they refine it again, get something new, try something else. So like, that always happens. It's like, what if we did this? What if we did that? And I love that, because that's where the magic happens. That's creativity. So we've got that going on. Next thing is that there's something wrong with the stove in the workshop. They've got a massive like incinerator thing that heats the workshop. There's a crack in it or something. It's not working. The people down south can't come up. Dean's getting this all sorted. He's like, right, well, I'm going to take the sides off tomorrow morning with Bobby. We'll light a wee fire. We'll see where it's coming from. If it's a straightforward weld, we'll get it done here. Blah, blah, blah. Already got the solution. I've got the idea. Here's the solution. I'm going to actually sort it too. Comes up to tell me that something's been paint wrong. He needs something to happen in order for it to happen, so it gets redone. He's done it all already. I'm like, yeah, just pass it on to Ailsa. That'd be great. And that is the support that you should be getting, you know, at that level, at that seniority. Like, things always go wrong. There's challenges every single day. And what you need is a problem solver, someone that comes to you with solutions. And that's what Dean always brings. Like, it's always solution based. What are you going to do about this? I don't know, Dean. What are you going to do about this? He's like, well, I've been thinking. So it's like, there's always something there. And his brain's always ticking about improvement. So yeah, I mean, that's like invaluable.
Has Dean always been a problem solver, or has that been part of his growth?
No, that's always been there.
Yeah.
He can't sit still. There's got to be something that needs done. Something that needs fixed. You know, something that's going to make something or do something. That's always been there.
How do you see Dean because Dean and Chrissy are in charge of the workshop, like, how do you see their relationship developing and growing, like, within the workshop?
Oh, they complement each other really well, I think. Yeah. So, like, obviously, like, in Christopher's role, there's very little space for turning down time. So only if Chrissy gets himself ahead will there be a possibility for a gap. That's the only way that he's going to get a gap. Whereas within Dean's role, because it's so fragmented, that there's so many bits and pieces, and there's backup that needs to be allowed for him in order to be able to function that department and on the out on site department. That means there's flexibility in Dean. So Chrissy and Dean together making decisions with Dean having the flexibility to action on them is perfect. That's a partnership that you need. You need the sort of like the confidence and the grounding that Christopher brings to a scenario, especially when it comes to the sort of cultural flow of the workshop and making sure that everybody's on the same page and everybody's on an even keel. To then, when something goes wrong, it's about putting people into action. So it's like Chrissy knows where energy can be pulled from, and then it's Dean is the one that can action it to happen. So the partnership there is a mixture of two very different people coming together, and then they're able to provide these solutions and problem solve successfully and harmoniously, which is the most important. You're not needing to fight with each other about it.
Yeah. What does that mean for the workshop going forward as we grow?
Well, I mean, like, you know, that is a positive influence that they have on the rest of them, and they're showing everybody else how it's done and how to communicate with one another. So cross departments, workshop deliverers together, like, you know, when there's feedback that needs to be understood and actioned upon, they know how to communicate, they see how it's done. You know, it's all it is going to have a positive influence on them all. And then when they get new starts in, they're training up other people. You know, that this is the cultural set. This is how we do it. This is how we communicate. Yeah.
Dean's been here for a long time now. He's another legacy member in Gillies Mackay. Like, what's been his biggest impact on Gillies Mackay?
I mean, I think in terms of Dean's impact, it's very much of a similar theme. It's just the I can do guy. Like that's the influence that he has on the company, is that we have a certainty and a confidence that we're going to be able to do these things that we've maybe never tried before, because we have the skill and ability and expertise in the team to be able to deliver upon it. And Dean's very crucial to that. He's also like, the amount of money that this boy must have saved Gillies Mackay is beyond me, in terms of the things that he can fix, the things that he can get around, the things that he can make, like all of this, like handy people. I don't know, like how, you know, how, if people recognize how important it is to have a sparky friend, a plumber friend, a joiner friend, and a hairdresser. Like, these are the people that hold us up. Like, if you don't have these people, then you're having to pay, like, through the nose for absolutely everything all the fucking time. Well, when it comes to Dean, but as I say, in terms of like turning his hand to anything, like literally anything, Dean will find a way to fix it. And if he doesn't know how to fix it, then he'll get it to a stage where it's not going to actually be, you know, colossal and cost us an absolute fortune. He is the fixer. And I think you'd be hard pushed to fill those shoes and be able to take challenges on the way that he does, with the confidence that he has. You know, that the whole incinerator thing, leaking, like that's a big fucking deal. You're meant to pay some boys from London to come up to sort it. But him and Bob are going to just whack the panels off tomorrow and have a look and see what they see. And I can guarantee it's probably going to be fixable by Dean.
It's an old school mindset. Like, that's harder to come by, like, these days. But, like, being around someone like that for the guys will be, like, so valuable for them in terms of how they can help people going forward as well. It's like taking Dean's mindset of helping to then the younger team that are coming in and going, like, we can help too. And it's given, and it's another way of giving the guys purpose as well.
And it stretches further than just the company. Like, it stretches into their lives too. Like, I think, like, so Dean and I we've been divorced for 9 years now or something like that. So I've had a long time without having Dean as my partner and, you know, in my home. So all of the things that happen in my home, I have to do them. Whereas before, like Dean and I, we would do up houses, and you know, I would very much be the secondary person. I'd be giving him a hand, but I definitely wouldn't be making the decisions about it. And so when I'm doing my own home, like, and I'm on my own, and I'm now the person that's doing all the jobs, then I very much channel Dean. Like, the influence is there. Like, the reason I know how to do loads of different joinery things is because of the time that I've spent with Dean. So like, I wouldn't know half of the skill set that I've got if it weren't for having worked with him. And I know that he has that exact same influence on the other ones. And, you know, they're all getting their own houses now. They're all doing their own DIY projects. They're all getting more and more confidence in doing different skill sets, plastering, wallpapering, you know, things that we don't get to do every day here. You know, and that, you know, that's all from him. It's life skills. You know, if there was, you know, if like we didn't have like the traditional structure of schools and kids actually learn life skills, you know, there was actually, that was more important than the academia. That would definitely be a school of Dean for sure. Yeah. Like that would be where you would get your degree.
I think Stephen, my Stephen, he talks about like one of the things that he wished that he had was those skills.
Yeah.
He is learning just now. Like, he goes on YouTube and he looks at videos and stuff like that. But he wished he had someone around that he could, who could show him the ropes to these things. And his granddad is a joiner, or used to be a joiner, and he has him, but he's too old now to be able to teach him and stuff like that. So to have that from Dean is so valuable.
Yeah, it needs to come from a young age, though. I do believe that. Like, obviously, like, we got to muck around in the workshop when we were kids. Yeah. We got to make bow and arrows, go-karts. Like, me and my brother, we were always up to something that involved us playing with things that we shouldn't be playing with in order to make something. So it's like, we've always had hands-on. Dad had us stacking wood for 1p a length when we were like 6 and 7. Do you know what I mean? Like, so we've been around it. I do understand that there is influence there. And I think when it comes to lads coming into the business, like, we favor like unlearned people, and that they don't have a skill set, but they have a willingness to want to learn. So they can come from a place where they've never picked up a drill or a hammer, and then get to a place where they are absolutely bang on the money, phenomenal at it. So that all comes as part of it. And it's just inducing the confidence into them to do it for themselves, which is such a cool thing. And that's got fuck all to do with building sheds. That's entirely different. You know, this is mindset. This is, you're capable, you're independent, you can do it yourself. Yeah.
I think that's a good place to wrap up Dean. Like, it's a nice ending in terms of his influence.
That is his influence. Yeah. He makes people feel capable. He does. And that they're not alone, and that if they need help, then just ask. Yeah. Okay.
That's us for Dean's episode. If you are liking the episodes so far, make sure to subscribe. And if you've got any questions at all, leave us a comment underneath the video or email us at hello@NattyShedLife.com. See you next week. Hope you enjoyed Dean's episode. If you liked... fuck's sake. I didn't like. Hope you enjoyed Dean's episode. Make sure to subscribe.
I feel like I'm wasting some of my really good smiles on this.
Oh, sorry.
My poses.
You could do a different one every time I fuck up.
I know, yeah. They'll all be surprised.
Yeah.